Donald Trump has been elected to be the 45th President of the United States of America. Nobody saw it coming. Even some Trump supporters didn't think it would happen. Those who were against it have reacted with shock, disappointment, and even protests. The election has answered the big question of the past few months: who does America want to be their president? But it has now created another question, growing louder from the left, the right, and the millions of people in the middle. A question that many people thought they'd never have to ask. I'm Danny Burke, and did America make a huge mistake voting for Donald Trump as president?
I think we all need a pep talk.
To answer that, we need to first define what actually is a mistake when it comes to electing a president. If most people don't think the president is doing a good job, it could be said that the country as a whole feels their election was a mistake. It's a difficult thing to quantify, but experts have tried their best by using approval ratings. Every president gets approval ratings conducted by research groups to help determine the mood of the American people towards them. The lowest approval rating for any president since records began was for George W. Bush in 2008. Not long before Obama won the election, George Bush's approval rating had slumped to a record low of 19%. So, it seems this was the most discontent the modern American public has ever been with its president. 81% of people were unhappy with him, and millions of them were the ones who actually voted him into power. So then, is it fair to say that America felt electing George Bush was a mistake? Maybe, but it's not the full picture. You see, the president who had the highest approval rating of all time at a whopping 92% was also George W. Bush. This happened in the weeks following 9/11, with Bush riding on a wave of national unity. Now, this is the complicated thing about approval ratings. They change. Any president, including Donald Trump, is not a fixed entity. There will be decisions he makes that make him loved by some, and there are decisions that will make people regret voting for him. Because of this, it's difficult to say whether, on the whole, electing that president was a categorical, undeniable mistake. Electing a president isn't a precise art. It's a very human process, and humans, by our very nature, are different from one another. That's why we are often so bitterly divided on who we vote for in politics and on what we think of their decisions, which then informs our opinions about whether or not it was a mistake to vote them in. For Donald Trump, we have neither his approval ratings or his decisions to judge him on yet. There is only speculation. For example, perhaps the most anticipated decision that everyone is waiting for is the wall on the Mexican border. It was a cornerstone of Donald Trump's campaign, and many are now watching closely. If he starts to move forward with it, his approval might grow among his support base. But experts, those close to him, and perhaps even Trump himself, knows that such a project is probably not feasible, even if he somehow convinces Mexico that they should pay for it. So if Trump can't follow through on proposals like this, will he lose supporters?
We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it.
This is the challenge he faces. Trump ran a polarizing campaign.
This is Sparta!
And if his pledges prove to be unrealistic, it may result in the loss of his core support, who will see him as a failure or even a liar. If he does implement them, he will further drive away the people who were against those pledges to begin with. Ultimately, the reaction to his decisions and his approval rating, which are our criteria for whether or not him winning was a mistake, will likely be as divided as the election result itself, leaving no real clear indicator for us to answer the question. But there is one possibility for him. In Donald Trump's victory speech, he said, "Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. We have to get together." This may be Donald Trump's only path to his presidency not being widely looked upon as a mistake, to try to bridge the gap between those who support him and those who do not. These differences aren't just minor details about how to implement certain policies or arguing about the intricacies of a tax plan. The issues of race, immigration, rights, and gender that have dominated this campaign appear to be very polarizing, and bringing people together on them will be difficult. But it seems like it's the only path he has if he doesn't want to either drive away his doubters even further or disappoint his core supporters. Both scenarios will lead to many saying his election to the presidency was a mistake. The only thing that's clear right now is that we need time to answer that question. As the months and years go by, Donald Trump's approval rating will gauge the mood of the American public. His policies, both the ones he has promised to implement, and the ones he has yet to reveal will be analysed both objectively and subjectively on whether they are good for America as a whole. His path to uniting the country behind him and leaving office with most Americans believing him becoming president was not a mistake will be a difficult one, but I think we all remember what happened the last time people said Donald Trump had an impossible task ahead of him. He won the presidency. Was this a mistake? Only time will tell. My name is Danny Burt. Thanks for watching this episode of Life's Biggest Questions. We have plenty more videos that probe some of the most popular, interesting, and thought-provoking questions about the world we live in, so be sure to check them out. And I'll see you all in the next video.